The delivery process consists of running a search, finding and reviewing candidates, and the management of requirement workflow. This workflow consists of attach or shortlist, sending CVs, arranging an interview, making an offer, and confirming the placement. The search is accessed from the magnifying glass icon. On opening the search, you will see that there are two tabs, Criteria and Results. The search type is selected from a drop-down menu, and there are further filtering options available in the ribbon. The first search we are going to run will be based on field selections. The available options are viewed by scrolling through this list on the left-hand side and selecting the field criteria. For lookup fields, you will find tick box options for each of the field values. For date fields, it will offer a from and to option to establish a date range, and this is the same for numeric fields also. For alphanumeric fields, you will have the option of begins with, contains, and ends with. You can also perform radius searching to establish the number of records you have within the proximity to a postcode. The skills area will give you three main options: and, or, and not. These can be populated via double-clicking on a skill or using drag and drop. You can also right-click on the and or boxes to alter the search type, and press the dividing label to alter the relationship between these options. When entering the criteria of the search, you will notice that there is an active count on the number of records the search has found based on the criteria that you have entered. This is in the bottom right-hand corner, here. When you are ready to view the records, press Show Results. The results will be displayed with the option to add additional columns of data relating to that record. You can also move the columns via drag and drop. We would always recommend that you review your search result alongside the summary view to aid your access to as much information about the record as possible. This is also a quick way of creating history logs whilst working through the records. You will find editing options available with hide, unhide, and the option to add individual records to a search result, as well as remove them. There are up to 10 flag settings, allowing the user to highlight records based on a defined category. Setting the names of these flags and their associated colours will be covered in the admin training. Under Actions, you can find the first set of batch workflows that you can run against your search result. Simply select the records and click on the action. The map search is also available here should you wish to see a general overview on the location of a group of records. When saving a search result, you will also be saving the search criteria that was originally run to create the result, as well as any flag settings that you might have set. When opening a search result, you can view your previous searches, filter based on scope, filter further based on type, and even view search results from other users. Creating a distribution list will allow you to save selected records from your search result so that they can be accessed via the colleague add-in within Outlook. This will be covered later in the course. We will go through the View Text area shortly, and the Link Requirement area when we're ready to begin attaching some candidates to a requirement. But for now, let's look at the primary searching function in Colleague, text criteria. Text criteria performs text searches against selected indexes that have been set up in the system. As standard, your main index will be all CVs. But it is possible to set up a separate index from a subsection of CVs, for example, archived CVs. You can also search history logs in the system and the notes tabs that are stored against the selected entity type, in this case, candidate. The search term box uses searching logic called Boolean. We will now go through a short presentation to explain how this functionality works. The search can be used to find candidates, contacts, companies and requirements. But for the purposes of demonstrating the delivery process, we're going to focus on the finding of candidates. What we'll now go through are the things you need to know when running text searches across CVs, histories and note fields. The first point to note is that text searches are not case sensitive. There are acceptable characters that can be used when searching, including the hashtag and full stop. Also, the comma, speech marks, question mark, asterisks and brackets are all used in searching techniques. The exclamation mark and @ symbol are not acceptable characters and will be stripped out of any searches. The different text search phrases are available as follows. A. Exact phrase, which is an exact match on the text that you've entered. B. Boolean logic, which splits the criteria using 5 different criteria types: and, or, and not, the use of brackets, and near. And wildcard, which will find all words starting with the phrase. Exact phrase performs an exact match on the phrase. So, for example, searching project manager will search for the phrase project manager against all CVs. Wildcard will search for all words starting with the phrase before the asterisk. So, for example, engineer asterisk will look for engineer and any other suffix that follows it, such as engineering or engineered. In this slide, we will look at and logic. The specific example is project manager and Oracle. As you can see from the presentation, we are searching all CVs, and in some of those we will find project manager, and in some we will find Oracle. The question is which option will be the correct one in terms of the CVs that are kept. The correct answer is option 1. Our next slide will look at OR logic. In this instance, the example is project manager or Oracle. Again, we will search all CVs. Some of those will contain project manager and some will contain Oracle. The question is, of course, which option will be the correct one in terms of the CVs that are kept. The correct answer is option 2. The next example is looking at and not, with the criteria project manager and not Oracle. Again, we will search all CVs, some of which will contain project manager and some will contain Oracle. And one last time, the question is which option will be the correct one in terms of the CVs that are kept. The correct answer is option 2. Just as important as the use of Boolean logic is the understanding of where to use brackets. Criteria with multiple Boolean options will need to be grouped so that colleague understands the records you're trying to find. Searches inside the brackets are completed first, and then filtered further by other search phrases that sit outside of the search term. Near will initially use AND logic to find the records, but will then order the results based on the criteria's proximity. So, for example, Project Manager near London would find all records with both Project Manager and London, and then rank the record based on how close the two search terms are found within the CV. On the topic of ranking, search results are ranked by a unique score so that you can order the records by their suitability. The score that is given to a record is based on its suitability to your search criteria. This specifically factors in the Boolean criteria that you have used. And we'll look at hits, but also the proximity the hits were together. Or we'll factor in the amount of search criteria that was found and the number of times that it was found. And as mentioned, near will rank based on the proximity of the criteria within the text. We'll now cover some examples of this in Colleague. The first search we'll start with will use AND logic. We'll use the example Account Manager and Project Manager. Click All CVs, which is the standard index for all your CVs, and then Show Results. As you can see, a rank score has been issued against each of the records. If we look at the highest ranking CV by clicking on View Text, we will see multiple instances of the criteria being found and in close proximity. This is less prominent in the following CV, and so on. We are now going to switch AND for OR. To trigger the count, again you can click the All CVs tick box, the Show Count icon, or simply press Tab. You can see that we've found far more records. Again, we'll click Show Results and start a fresh search result. As before, we have a rank set against each record, and we can view the CVs to see the criteria highlighted. We'll now update the logic to say AND NOT. And again, the results have changed significantly and the ranking is different. The final demonstration we'll cover is the use of brackets. It is also worth noting that you can save and access useful search terms for future use. Press Show Results, and we'll assume at this stage that you have reviewed a collection of high-ranking candidates and deemed them appropriate to shortlist. To do this, we must first click on Link Requirement, and then look up the requirement you want to attach the candidates against. We're going to use the requirement we created earlier in the course. Now that the requirement is linked, the batch options have become available, so we can highlight the candidates we want to shortlist and then click Attach. You will see this message box appear for each instance of a candidate, giving you the option to record anything specific about the candidate's needs. Before returning to the requirement, we're now going to take a look at a candidate record.